Oh yeah, filing in. Good stuff.
I feel like you should know, Mike, that my dog was vomiting at 4:30 a.m. this morning, so I've been up for a while.
Yeah.
This might be a really interesting event. Like this is my third cup of coffee so far, and it's only
Yeah.
8:45.
I'm still that hour change. I'm still reeling from that. It never gets me, but it got me this time.
Uh, no, I just the 4 a.m. wake up calls from a vomiting dog was
Yeah, that's awful.
for no reason. She just got up and went, "Bleh," and I like heard her and was like, "Great, it's on the carpet. I can't just
Well,
leave
yeah.
that."
Of course it's on the carpet.
Never on the wood floor. Never on the.
No, 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 no. I I think this should our icebreaker question today is the best. This
Oh,
should be like our default question if we're struggling to find one. So I posted in the chat. I don't know. I posted it kind of early. Hopefully everybody can see it, but it's just what's the best thing you've got going on in your life at the moment. So I'm very, very excited to hear about these. Get some positivity. It's Friday. It's Creative Mornings. So yeah, I'm very eager to hear everybody's great things they've got going on right now.
I'll start since everyone ever's it's always a little quiet at first, but feel free to pop it in the chat if you're uncomfortable kind of talking on camera. I am closing on a house in 2 weeks. So
Whoa.
I have no idea what I just got myself into. So it has been a very stressful process. I have not enjoyed this at all, but I'm happy to get in there, and then I'll feel like after a really shitty year, like feels like okay, I'm
Yeah,
doing something by myself. So that's my thing.
that's awesome. Such a huge step. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll go. I think I'm really excited for spring, honestly. So I just love gardening outside, and that's what's going on in my life. That we're excited.
Oh, and that cute baby. I mean, come on.
She, my 3-year-old was giving her tattoos on her face with markers, so this is kind of crazy.
That's great.
Cute.
What are you what's your like your go-to gardening? Are you like is it more flowers? Is it more food? Like what are you
um, I don't know. Well, right now I'm trying to figure out how to have like a tropical sort of garden around my pool
Ooh,
area. I'm trying to find tropical plants that are sort of hardy that might live here. But I don't
yeah,
know. I just kind of like landscaping, like
sure.
flowers. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to do vegetables, but I'm not like super in basically like everything, I guess.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna attempt to do a garden this spring, so
Yeah.
I'm asking around.
Yeah. It's
So yeah,
good.
as we have more
I really
people
like
jump
that.
in here, we're talking about the best thing you've got going on in your life at the moment. And so we just want to hear, what you're excited about, big wins, small wins, everything in between. We're just trying to good vibes only this morning. Feel free to pop it in the chat if you don't want to unmute, but yeah, be happy to hear anybody else that wants to share.
So we closed on a house in October and have been living there ever since, but we are almost ready to put our old house on the market. So I'm
Ooh,
really excited to get out from the double mortgage
yeah.
life and get the old house into some good hands. So I'm really excited. So, if you know, we're
Absolutely.
looking for a 2-bed, 1-bath.
For real.
Oh man, that's wild. I'll have like 1 month of overlap in my apartment in my house. So I don't know how you're handling like the two. I just can't. My brain is already stressed out.
We,
So
we saved for a long time because we knew that we'd have to fix up the old house once we were out of it because we have a 4-year-old.
yeah.
And like
Gotcha.
doing major home repairs with a 4-year-old was not going to happen.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Little kids construction zone. Nope. Those do not go together. That helps with the move though. That makes the move a little more
Yeah,
a little easier. But
we
man,
were able to
that
kind
should
of save
go.
up time.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll go pretty quick. The market is just insane right now. So
I'm
that's
excited.
great. Yeah, that's awesome. Big stuff everywhere. I'll do a small thing for our small moment folks. Hopefully break the ice there. I have been learning the saxophone for the last year. I actually just crossed a year a couple weeks ago.
I was just about to
So
ask you about the sax, how it was going.
yeah, it's going well. It's going well. I finally think I've gotten over like the am I gonna do this or am I giving this up phase. I'm fully committed after about a year of waffling back and forth. But yeah, practicing like 5, 6 days a week and just trying to I have no real aspirations, but so yeah. So that's my big life life moment, best thing, I guess. Uh but
The
yeah, very
sax
curious
is
to hear everybody
something you
else.
the sax
What?
is something you took up during social isolation.
It was just before actually. So I found a teacher, um, Lisa Rose. If anybody in Columbia that's looking to play saxophone or clarinet, shout out Lisa. In February. So I think I went to her house twice. I think I had 2 lessons, and then we went into lockdown. So it was like the weirdest thing. I can say I don't know if I would have stuck with it though, had it not been stuck at home. So I think that's probably lockdown is probably why I've stuck with it.
I did something similar with acrylic painting. Just picked up a little starter set and it took off. And then the next thing I knew, I was exhibiting and actually selling pieces. And I'm like, I kind of went on a 3-week hiatus recently, and I'm like, have I lost it already? Was it just a brief talent and it's gone? Hopefully not.
No, no way. That's so cool. That's
Yeah, it was
great.
it was wild. It was wild.
Yeah.
I feel like I had multiple hobbies in 2020. Like I was fermenting food, and then I was learning to crochet, and then I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna learn to paint. And then my hobbies changed like every 3 weeks. And now I've just got a stack of books of things to learn that I don't want to do anymore. So kudos to Mike and to you, Kelly, for like sticking to your hobby, because
There were numerous others. Don't get it twisted. There were other things. I don't even macrameing for a little bit. That was fun. And I don't even remember at this point. I had a big landscaping project, but yeah. Anyways, I want to hear from you all. What do you got? Life moments, updates, exciting things.
I'll jump in. Oh, sorry, Miranda. I am probably halfway through my dissertation. So I am like closing in on the the final months, and I'm hoping to defend in June, beginning of June. So
Oh
yay, then I'll
yeah.
be done.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. Yeah. Last 10, 20, 30%. Ooh, yes. Good deal. Very exciting.
So I'll go ahead. Lindsay already knows, but for the last year and a half, I've been working towards getting into architecture school, which is like a complete, left field from what I already do. And 2 weeks ago, I got accepted into Yale, so I'm very excited. And I just got my scholarship offer, so it's like happening, which is just like so wild.
Oh my gosh. Yes. That's so great. That's amazing.
Yeah, so I start in July, so it's like happening.
yeah, so we're gonna lose her. She's gonna move to Connecticut. But I can't think of a better reason to lose my friend than to getting into Yale. You're on your way to being Rory Gilmore. Like, so I'm so excited for you.
That is so awesome. Is like where I don't know. This might be out of turn, but how do you go from like, oh, maybe art school to Yale?
It's been a long, like a 6-year process. Like,
Oh
so a
my
lot of my
gosh.
work deals with the politics of public space. Like, I am so passionate about accessibility and making sure like everyone is welcome. And these places that like are systemically unoccupied. And I don't know, it's just been this whole journey. So before I moved to Columbia, I was in a 2-year long project in Kansas City. That was an NEA grant to develop 3 public spaces in Kansas City. So that was like the jumping off point in my portfolio. And so, I don't know, my work has never just been like art on the wall. It's been like large scale installations and sculpture and interactive artworks. So it's always been a very spatially motivated practice. But now I'm just kind of going towards the professional degree side.
So cool. Congratulations. That's phenomenal.
I'm very excited.
See, we're just motivating in here. We're just good vibes. It's right. So our icebreaker.
And
We
I
had a
had
few
like
more
all
people.
of 2020 to like study for the GRE and like do all the bizarre technical stuff that I needed to.
Yeah. So great. Oh my gosh, that's like mind blowing. Wow. So cool. Yeah, we're talking big stuff here. Big and small. Best things going on in your life right now. We've got a couple more minutes before we get started with the programming. Would love to hear really from everybody, ideally. No pressure though. Yeah, who wants to go?
Don't be shy. Come on.
I can pop in. Hey guys, it's Sarah. I'm here. I was gonna put my video on, but I'm getting coffee and stuff and moving around, so I'll pop it on shortly. But I can share that I did get Jimmy a bike for Christmas, and now that it's finally, Jimmy's my son, FYI, he's 8 years old and he's the light of my life, but he's been really traumatized of riding bikes since last year we tried, and he kind of took a tumble, and since then he's been really nervous. But this week, I think some of his friends are riding bikes, and he also, I don't love this, but he saw an episode of Stranger Things at his dad's house and now is obsessed with riding bikes in the street, which was really sweet, but also a little terrifying. And so now that he saw Will riding a bike, he really wants to ride a bike just like the guys on Stranger Things. So he's really excited. So I'm really pumped that the weather's good today so we can go outside and ride bikes. But it's just fun seeing the sun come back out after a bunch of rainy days. So that's kind of like the best thing going on right now. We get to be outside and get to hang with him and get him excited about something other than video games, which is really fun.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we finally have some sun today. That'll be great. Hey, maybe it takes a little Stranger Things to get back on the bike. That's cool.
Like, I don't love that you saw that. He gets scared of everything. Lindsay knows. He everything terrifies him. So I was shocked that, number one, his dad was like, yeah, he can watch it. But also I forgot, like once I went back, I was like, I guess it's not that bad. And I don't know.
Sarah, my little brother is 15 now, but he did not learn to ride a bike until he was nearly 12 because he flew off the handlebars, like skinned his face, knocked a tooth out, like the whole nine, and he refused to get on a bike. But he saw his friends doing it and he didn't want to be left out. And so it was like the good kind of peer pressure of like, it's okay, you're going to be okay. And now he rides a bike everywhere because he can't drive yet. So
yeah, I love it. Well, that's what I'm hoping it will encourage him to just kind of feel like he has a little bit more freedom. And we have such a good little biking neighborhood where we're at now. So it'll be fun when we can actually all go together and like go to the trail together. So I'm just looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah, I can tell you, I did the same thing. I fell off my bike, traumatizing. I still remember it. But yeah, I got back on like years later. What's that?
Are you riding bikes now, Mike?
No, not anymore. But you get into like middle school, like Stranger Things age, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, all my friends were, I was like, all right, I got to do this. Still prefer rollerblades, but that's a conversation for another time. All right, we got like one more minute. Can we squeeze in like one or two more life moments? This is giving me life. Hopefully it's helping you all.
So on the Christmas gift and roller skate blank, I got roller skates for Christmas, and I'm like, it's finally getting warm outside, so I'm really pumped to like go find a blacktop that I can actually like go skate on. because it keeps getting like gross and like then it got nice and then I like hurt my neck so I couldn't roller skate then, and I was like, everything's working out and I'm finally gonna be able to roller skate and I'm really pumped about it. I'm also really pumped to move my like 20 million plants outside because they're grumpy from being inside all winter. So yeah.
Raven, if you
Yes.
skate sometime, I still have my roller. Fun fact for everyone is I was a champion roller skater in high school.
Please
Oh my God, Lindsay.
Wait.
Hear more about that.
Yeah. What do you mean? Yeah.
So I grew up in Kentucky, but I was a teenager in the like late 90s, and so roller skating was what you did on a Friday night. There was no, I had a little purple pager that I connected to my jean shorts, and I wore a lot of like neon stuff you could glow under the lights. This is not surprising to anyone who knows me. So but we used to roller skate every Friday, and I joined like a roller skating team where like we learned to like skate backwards, like all the things. Like I could dance and skate, I could do the whole thing. So I was like on a roller skating team, and we won like all kinds of regional competitions. I don't honestly know at 36 if I could still roller skate like that. But
No, you got it.
Honestly, if you could even just still teach me the technique and like skate forwards with me, that would be fantastic.
It's actually, once you get the hang of it and you figure out, I would say if you're outdoors, there's like rocks and things that can trip you up. And so make sure that you find like a smooth place, but get you some knee pads and just be prepared to fall a few times. So
Church parking lots are a good place to practice. They're plenty big and but Lindsay, I just have to say, I love that you like set the aesthetic scene for us on that, because it did help me visualize.
Let me just tell you that, so, okay, well, this is not my story time, but this is fun, and I think you'll enjoy this, Mike, is that in 1998 or 97, 98, I was in 8th, 9th grade, and the song Pony came out. It was Genuine's like big song that Magic Mike, everyone knows Pony. So that was like a song that I had like a routine to. I had a roller skate.
Why are you telling me this? You have to do this now.
The reason that it's funny is because I had no idea like what that song was about. I was just like skating along, and my mom was like, "I don't think that's the song you should pick."
You have to learn that routine again. You have to. Oh my gosh. That's phenomenal.
We can do in-person events. I really do echo the sentiments of that we should do a roller skating party. It would be a blast.
Absolutely.
So much fun. Do it, but I don't think I know that performance anymore. But
oh jeez.
Oh, welcome to my weird life, everyone. Thanks, Mike, for handling the icebreaker. If anyone else has anything else you want to share, feel free to put it in the chat. We'd love to know more about what's going on in your life, whether it's big or small. If you've managed to shower more than once this week, that is a victory in my book. So we want to know more about you and are just happy that you're here. So if this is your first time, so what we're going to do is we'll go through some slides, some announcements, just talking through some promotions that our global sponsors are currently offering. And then we'll kick it off to Mason as our speaker this morning. So let me get the slides going and we will get things started. Okie doke. You guys can all see this, correct? Great. Mm-hmm. So as you know, welcome to Creative Mornings. If you are not already following us on all of our social channels, these are all listed here for you: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. This is how we get most of our, if not all of our news out. Some of it's word of mouth, but it would be great to be connected to these social channels if you are wanting to know what's happening with our events in the future. Should we do a roller skating party, this is where you would find out that information. And then moving on to our global sponsors. So MailChimp is our Creative Mornings marketing partner, and they have been with Creative Mornings for 11 plus years. So they are our longest standing partner. They have some promotions going on right now that will help your business grow, and just some different tools that you can have access to. This, along with all the other global partners I'll talk through, I'll pop all of the links in the chat after I'm finished so you can access those on your own and see what the promotions are. All of our global sponsors like to offer things to Creative Mornings attendees because you're just part of our community community. They love to offer discounts and some different opportunities along the way. So these change every month. So oftentimes these will expire at the end of the month and a new promotion will start over. So if you're interested at all in these today, I encourage you to go ahead and check those out quickly. Our other global sponsor is Basecamp and Hay. So CMHQ's Global Water Cooler is here. I guess we're starting something new. So we can learn about our global communities, favorite books, and secrets to writing powerful emails. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I think this is the wrong, nope, this is the right promotion. Sorry, this is me in real time trying to figure out if this is the right promotion or not. So I guess there is a new promotion that Basecamp is offering where you can log into the link and you can see different books that folks all over the global community are reading and are engaged in with different reviews and things. This is cool in my opinion. I love knowing what other people are reading and figuring out some different ways to educate myself in a variety of just social areas, in particular the time that we're living in. I think it's really important to be reading books. So I will share this link with you so you can check out the blog post and all the categories of books and figure out which areas that you're interested in. Our last global sponsor is Skillshare. So Skillshare is an online learning community helping to make millions take the next step in their creative journey. So I actually have done some Skillshare things recently, learning more about analytics. It's like a big company initiative where I work, and it's not something that comes naturally to me. So if you're interested in learning more about creating meaningful things or just, developing a skill that you are feeling a little insecure about, this would be a great opportunity. They've got a 40% off an annual membership right now that ends at the end of March. So if you're interested in checking that out, I would encourage you to just look at the different categories that they have and areas of learning that you'd be interested in. And I figure, why not? We're all kind of at home still for the most part. Why not learn some different things? I think we just talked about all the different things that we're trying, and gardening and roller skating and playing the saxophone. We've just talked about all those things. This would be a really cool opportunity to try some new stuff as well. Another opportunity to try new things is our virtual field trips. So prior to the pandemic, Creative Mornings had field trips in your local community. So we would take a field trip as a group to a bookshop or a brewery or a different creative venue. Well, we can't do that right now. So the cool thing about that is that it does open us up to go to virtual field trips. And so you'll see some examples here. I know several of our community members have checked these out, but you can log into a chapter in New York, or a chapter in Arizona, or a chapter in Sao Paulo or Paris, or wherever a field trip is being held. And what's really cool is you can see someone teach you how to make something. You can see a woman leading yoga here. And so there are some opportunities just to learn a different skill and to just get a peek into what other chapters are doing and how they're doing it. So I encourage you to check those out. Again, these are free, just like our monthly events are. We will never charge you for any event. We will never ask you to pay for anything. These are always accessible to all people at all times. And so if you're interested, I encourage you to check it out. So anyhow, those are our major sponsors and opportunities for you this month. Before we lead into introducing Mason, I would love for Jessica on our planning team to read us the Creative Mornings Manifesto. So this manifesto essentially encompasses all that we stand for in this organization and how we want to operate moving forward, particularly in this pandemic. So Jessica, if you wouldn't mind reading the manifesto, and then Carrie or Miranda, I'm not sure who is introducing Mason, but I'll hand that off to you.
Okay. Everyone is creative. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty, and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make the things you love. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections, in learning from others, in jazz hands, virtual claps, and virtual snaps. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. Everyone is welcome.
Thanks, Jessica. Appreciate that. Carrie or Miranda, who is introducing our speaker this morning?
I've got this.
Great.
So our theme this month is ripple. People, ideas, experiences, they ripple through our lives, sometimes gently, like the ripples of water on a lake, nudging a memory, slowly dissipating over time. Sometimes those experiences ripple more powerfully through our lives, like the aftershocks of an earthquake, upending us after each wave. Mason Aid was nominated to be a speaker by a fellow Creative Mornings attendee, and I'm very glad that they did. As a consultant, helping people, companies with understanding the impacts of inclusion on mental health, especially in the LGBTQ+ community, this month's theme seemed especially applicable to their work and their experiences. Mason was named to the Columbia Business Times 20 Under 40 in 2020 for their work in helping organizations with more inclusive practices and creating a culture where everyone is accepted. Since Mason and I originally discussed this theme, they've shifted from consulting to a day job doing diversity work for a company here in Columbia. So thank you, Mason, for joining us this morning.
Unmute. Thank you all for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So I'm just gonna dive right in and tell some stories. So, okay, gotta take my deep breath to start out. I was filled with rage as I threw a rock across the Hingston Creek and it slammed into the tree on the other side and bounced back, rippling in the water. I knew that my life was forever changed. I knew that nothing would ever be the same. The day before, I was driving to see my grandma in Marshall, and my mom called when I was at about Boonville and said, turn around and go home. Don't come yet. And I knew at that moment that something strange had happened. I knew at that moment that my surprising them by waking up early was not going to happen. And so I drove back to Columbia and went to the Artisan and hung out in the coffee shop for a few hours when I got the phone call from my mom that my uncle had died by suicide that morning. I was crushed. I knew that all eyes would be on me. See, the story is complicated because I was the crazy one. I was the one with mental health problems in our family, and somehow I had survived when my uncle had not. I was 10 the first time I dealt with depression due to bullying because I was different. My gender identity was not what others expected it to be. I was 13 the first time I thought about suicide, and I was 17 the first time I stepped foot inside an inpatient psychiatric facility. From 17 till 23, I was inpatient 7 times for suicidal ideation and self-harm. I hated myself. I hated everything about who I was, and I thought I was doomed to a life of hell. And then at 23, I moved to Columbia. And for the first time in my life, there was positive queer representation. For the first time in my life, I saw people like me, happy and healthy, holding hands downtown, living their lives fully and authentically. And I knew I had to come out. I knew I had to say the words out loud that had been echoing in my head for months and years. I knew that I had to come out because it was going to kill me if I didn't. I was in the midst of this process when my uncle died. And none of my family knew at that point, but I knew and had finally accepted that this is who I am and I have to take these steps to come out. It was a beautiful May day when I was skipping rocks at Hingston Creek, full of rage and anger and sadness. And I wasn't so much mad that he had died as I was mad that he had made it so that I couldn't. Because at the funeral, I saw my family's reaction. I saw the pain in their hearts. I saw their faces tense. And I knew I could never do that to anyone. And that moment has rippled throughout my life. In that moment, I made a decision that I would do anything and everything to keep myself alive at all costs, which meant coming out. It meant telling my parents that I am queer. It meant telling my older sister that I am queer. It meant telling my church that I am queer. It meant losing my older sister to her homophobia. It meant being excommunicated from my church when I came out due to my mental health issues as well as my sexuality. It meant finding an amazing group of friends who have stood by my side through thick and thin. it meant everything. Coming out literally saved my life. And this story used to be tied up in a neat bow and was all pretty and fancy and lovely. And like, I was dealing with mental health stuff, and then I came out, and then magically everything was better. And then 11 years later, I found myself inpatient yet again in 2019, dealing with major mental health issues yet again. And I'm still figuring out how to make sense of my story now. I'm still figuring out what the story is and how it ends, because my life is continuously continuing on. And so as I make sense of that story, I look back at my life and the moments that have had a huge impact on me. And some of them are massive, like my uncle's death. Some of them are not so massive. Those small moments have a huge impact and really affect the way that we view the world. I worked at Starbucks for 6 years while I was working on my business, because health insurance at 20 hours a week is something you can't pass up. And I was working at the East Broadway location when a lady came in the afternoon. I was training another barista. We had just gotten done with morning rush, and it was finally slowed down, and I was grateful to have a moment to breathe. And this lady walks in, orders a grande latte, and pulls out her change purse and slowly counts the change. We go on and start her drink because we want to provide excellent service and be as quick as possible. And by the time we finished the drink, she had finished counting her change and didn't have enough to pay for the drink. Dejected, she started to walk out of the store, and I said, no, have the drink, it's on us. Like, otherwise we're gonna throw it down the sink. We're not gonna, no, take the drink. And she started crying and took the drink and walked away. 2 weeks later, my manager got an email from her saying that it was going to be her last drink, her final treat before she took her own life, and that that act of kindness saved her. Holy shit. That was a moment. And that's a moment that I will forever look back on and realize the power that something so small can have. To me, it was just another day. To me, it was just another cup of coffee. But to her, it was life. To her, it was a reason to continue on. And I'm sure that that small act ripples through her life as it ripples through mine. I'm sure that we both look back at that moment and stand in awe of the power of one small act of kindness. As I look back on my life and the struggles with mental health, I find myself looking at the small moments as just as powerful as the big ones, and sometimes more powerful. I didn't make a decision to stop cutting and then automatically not hurt myself anymore. I made one decision to make it the next hour. I made a decision to make it the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year, until I have been clean from self-harm for 11 years, 12 years. I can't do the math that quickly in my head, but it's been a hot minute. And while I still deal with that, it is no longer the pressing concern that it once was. I recently read the book Atomic Habits for work, which talks about being 1% better every year or every day. And that concept is exactly what I have seen in my life, that making one small decision can have a monumental impact, that changing one tiny habit can change the course of your life. It's amazing what one small thing can lead to. We can all get caught up in the big things in life. We can all get caught up in the major pains and in the beautiful moments that resonate forever. But we also have to find joy in the small things and then the tiny ripples that dissipate. Because that's where the power is found. That's where we keep going and keep moving and keep growing, is one tiny step at a time. Right now, I'm in the process of coming out of a depressive episode that lasted a year and a half. And I'm taking tiny baby steps On my habit tracker, I track every time I brush my teeth because that's a challenge for me right now. But I know that that tiny step will grow and improve and move beyond. I started my career in diversity and inclusion volunteering with PRISM at the Center Project and helping out with a group of chaotic young queer teens who filled me with so much joy. I was asked to be on a committee for the Cradle to Career Alliance. And at that committee, I met the counselor at Hallsville High School who asked me to come do a presentation. And I was like, sure, why not? I've never done a presentation before. I can do one, whatever. And that moment changed everything because I knew that I had found what I loved, what I was passionate about, what fills my heart with joy. I'm one of those strange people who gets a thrill from being on stage and doesn't feel nervous about it at all. As I was preparing for this, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be great. Oh yeah. Like I was stoked. To be in front of people is where I thrive. And I'm embracing that. And that is a powerful thing, to know that this is where I'm the most happy, that this is where I find myself growing and really leaning into who I am. And it's been a long journey to get here. I started a small business that ultimately didn't pan out how I dreamed it would. And I hope to someday return to that small business. But for now, I'm very happy doing diversity and inclusion at Veterans United. And I'm excited about where that's going to take me and where every small decision I've made has led me to this place where I'm in such a good, positive space. I was recently diagnosed with ADHD. And for some reason, I'm one of the most organized people that I know, even beyond the ADHD. I don't organize in the way that other people do at all. I organize in my own chaotic way, but I know exactly what I'm doing and I know exactly when I'm doing it and how I'm doing it. My to-do lists don't say clean the house. They say clean the sink in the kitchen, sweep the floor in the kitchen, run the dishwasher in the kitchen, clean the fridge in the kitchen, so on and so forth. Because for me, I have to break tasks down into the minutia to make sense of them and to continue doing what I need to do. And so my to-do list is miles long, but it's really tasks that will only take a few minutes. Send an email, follow up with so-and-so. But I think the more we break things down, the more we get done. And the more we see that these tasks are not overwhelming, but they're small things that lead to something larger. Small moments, small decisions, small things are what change our lives. I decided to start running 2 weeks ago, and I'm loving it. I never thought I would be a runner, but I am finding that to be an identity that I want to settle into, that I want to embrace. And I've set lofty goals because that's how I roll. And I'm excited to try something new, to take the next step, to put one foot in front of the other. There are moments in our lives that change us forever, and they are not always the big moments. My best friend sending me a message saying, Mason, you just have to do the next right thing. Those of you who are parents will know that that is a Frozen 2 quote that impacted me and led to me ultimately going inpatient to take care of myself and to keep myself safe. I don't look back on my hospital stays with regret or sadness. I look back at them as victories because I made a decision in a difficult time to take care of myself and to not run away and lose everything that I've worked so hard for. It has been a challenge. Life is not easy for any of us, and I seem to have been dealt a full card. The tower stands in my life as a prominent fixture when you look at the tarot deck. But I'm finding that sometimes you have to burn everything down to start again. Sometimes through the chaos, you find healing. And sometimes the most painful things are the most beautiful. And maybe we can embrace those times. If you had told me when I was 16 that I would be 35 years old, speaking in front of a group of people at Creative Mornings while my wife is upstairs doing laundry, I would have laughed at you. Because I was so in the closet that I couldn't see who I was, and yet I made the decisions that led me to where I am. It's a beautiful thing to make small decisions that have a huge impact. To set goals that seem unattainable and figure out what the next right thing is. These small moments ripple throughout our lives and lead us to where we are meant to be. We just have to take the next step and do the next right thing. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mason. I appreciate the vulnerability, particularly around mental health. That is, my mother is bipolar, and so that is certainly rippled throughout my entire life. And so just hearing vulnerability around that, I think, is a trend in culture we're moving towards, about being more open about those things. But I know even so, it's not easy to share deeply personal stories like that publicly. So I do appreciate your vulnerability and just willingness to be open with us. This is a safe space. I hope you feel that way. And so we're just really pleased to have you here with us today. I have asked Craig on our team to filter through some Q&A for Mason. So if you would like to submit a question, you can pop that in the chat to Craig, or you can raise your hand here and ask any questions for Mason. Mason, feel free to answer what you feel comfortable with. And this is also a safe space to say, I don't really want to answer that for you, if that is your conviction there. So anyhow, Craig, I'm going to hand off to you if you've got some questions to filter through, or if you have a question yourself. But again, this is an open time for everyone to do some Q&A.
Yeah, you can feel free to either direct message me or put it right in the chat if you have any questions.
I actually have a question around the ADHD stuff that you mentioned. So I'm just curious about that. I'm curious about, my little brother was diagnosed with ADHD. And so and he lives in a different state. He's also 20 years younger than me. So he's, you know, a totally different generation and he's a teenage boy that's like a whole lot. So, but you know, I feel like teenagers are kind of my easy place I can fit into, but when it comes to my own brother, I really struggle. But particularly around this issue, I think oftentimes he can really get on our nerves, and it feels like we're just like, can you just stop moving and stop talking and stop doing whatever you're doing? You know, he doesn't take medication on the weekend, so he can particularly eat, because I think his appetite is really curbed. And I guess what I'm asking is just some like helpful tips on how to interact with a person who is kind of working through these long lists in their brain and working through like a diverse brain that's just looking at things differently and thinking differently, what the best way to care for him is, or just some tips on how to speak to him and not frustrate him further, if that makes any sense.
I think being patient and also challenging him. To function in society with a brain that doesn't work like most people's, you have to figure out how to cope. You know, you have to figure out what works for you. Like, I've got my Rocketbook Panda planner that I fill out every morning, and I've got my to-do lists, and I've got my processes that work for me. And what works for everyone is individual. One thing that I am working on right now is letting my wife finish her sentences. Because I always am like, yeah, I know the answer. And she's like, that's not at all what I was going to say. It's like, again, to go to Frozen, when in the first movie, when they say, when Anna answers Hans with, we finish each other's sandwiches. That's our code word for when I'm doing it, is sandwiches. So that then I catch it and realize that, like, oh, snap, I just interrupted you again. So yeah, being patient and knowing that, you know, I was initially diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but my doctor is not sure that that's an accurate diagnosis anymore, which is kind of blowing my mind. Having the same diagnosis since I was 18 to now, and now like 18 to 30, 35, almost 36, and now my doctor's going, maybe not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What? But it's a journey, and it's one that I had to figure out unmedicated.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm grateful that now I'm medicated, because my brain is just so much calmer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like not going everywhere. Like I watched a movie with my daughter for the first time over the weekend that I tested medication to be sure that it would work. For the first time, I sat through a whole movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like those are little things that are monumental,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to not have to get up and move.
Right. I think, yeah, part of what you're saying is super helpful. All of it's helpful. Because I think for my little brother, he doesn't have like the wherewithal as a teenager to know like, maybe I should make lists. And so I think my parents just feel frustrated that he's not doing great in some classes, or socially he does fine. Like he has a million friends, and like he's super chatty, and he's a good kid. He's not in trouble, but like he can't seem to focus, and medication helps. But I think they don't know, like maybe we should offer some solutions. So this is helpful to me to be like, hey buddy, like maybe you should just write the minute details down so you don't forget things, and that you can focus on knowing what to do. So that's just being able to offer him some solutions rather than being like, can you stop touching me? Like he's just like wants to constantly poke and touch, and like he can't settle down. So this is it makes me feel hopeful, like, oh, it's possible for him to exist in the world.
Also, like your brain doesn't stop developing until you're 25.
Okay.
So like that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
That to a degree it might just be being an obstinate teenager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I fought against lists and structure my whole life, and now that's all I do is lists and structure.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, from this time to this time I am going to do this task. Mm-hmm. From this time to this time I am going to turn my phone off and be present with my family.
Yeah.
And I have to work. Like I was talking with my psychiatrist, and she was like, Mason, maybe you don't have to work as hard as you are.
Mm.
And that was like, whoa, maybe I don't. Maybe medication will help me calm down to the point where I can get things done more efficiently and more effectively, and not be like, ooh, shiny. And actually stick with a project for more than a week or two, and really follow through in a way that has been difficult for me. I've been able to do it, but it's been difficult.
Yeah. Thanks. Honestly, that's super helpful. I appreciate that.
We do have a couple questions. So one question we had was being neuroatypical in corporate America, and how do you identify and communicate your needs?
That has been a challenge, being neurodivergent in corporate America. I'm still new to it. I've only been at VU since last July, and before that I was in Starbucks, where it was really pretty optimal for my ADHD, because I was moving all the time. I was making a different drink. I was trying to go as fast as I could. My brain being chaotic really paid off for Starbucks, because I was making 3 drinks at a time and was able to find this Zen focus. Like I'd get in flow at Starbucks like I never had before when I was making drinks during peak, because nothing else mattered. It was just pump the syrup, pull the shots, steam the milk, do it again. But I have had to ask for accommodations. We're about to move buildings, and I'm going to talk to my manager on Monday about having a desk in a low traffic area that's kind of in a corner with maybe a window, but no big distractions. I can't be facing out, because otherwise everybody who walks by, I'll be like, oh, hey, I want to talk to them. And so like really being intentional about that. I'm currently in a space, like I am an open book. I don't feel like I need to hide who I am. And that has been just like, I finally have the language to explain who I am and what I need. And I'm finally able to put words to it. And that is so powerful, to be able to say, oh, I need to be sure I'm close to a gender neutral bathroom, and at a desk that faces the wall. Although it's this weird combination of anxiety and ADHD where I don't really want to be facing the wall, but I need to be facing the wall. I've also learned a lot from Amber Cheek at the university about accommodations and what can be done. When I was looking for accommodations when I was in college, that I was kind of met with a brick wall of like, well, you're really intelligent and you do well at tests, so what can we do? And I was like, no, I need a note taker because I can't focus on my notes. Like, I'll take notes that don't make any sense. And so that really helped me. I use a lot of voice recording instead of typing or writing because I can't write as fast as my brain goes. So like if I'm in a meeting, like it's better for me to have it recorded. I also email myself notes a lot because I live by my Outlook task list. So if I email myself a note, I can flag it and have it in my to-do list.
Thank you for that. We have another question in here. What are some small steps that you are helping people at VU to take to create a safer space every day?
I am bringing a transgender lens to VU, which is powerful. Their diversity team is a pretty big team, but I am the only trans person on it. And you know, VU is a company with 4,500 plus employees. Approximately 10% of approximately 5 to 8% of the population is transgender. So you can do the math on how many trans people likely work at VU. And I've done a pronoun training that is going to become evergreen and be available to all employees all the time, which is really exciting. And I feel like just being able to have my viewpoint represented in diversity and inclusion is powerful. You know, to have my voice heard when talking about ability, when talking about trans and LGBTQ issues. But I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm only about 2 months into my role, so I'm still kind of in that treading waters phase where I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing, but I'm having a lot of fun.
We have another question is, can you talk a little bit more about the 1% better concept? How do you find ways to be that 1% better, and what does 1% better look like for you?
So for me right now, 1% better is brushing my teeth twice a day, because I have been brushing my teeth once a day, which was a win for a while. And so right now it's cooking 3 days a week instead of getting takeout every meal. It's going for a run 3 days a week when I want to sleep in. Those are some of the things I'm working on right now. And I find that tracking it really helps. I have my handy dandy notebooks that I carry with me everywhere that keep me on track, and where I track, like, okay, I haven't run, or I haven't gone for my run, what happened? Like this week I haven't run at all because I've had a cold. Thankfully not COVID, but still no fun, and I'm not going to run in the rain with a cold. Not a good plan. But yeah, just picking one small thing that can make you a little bit better and working on it, and then picking the next small thing. Like I'm doing Couch to 5K, so I'm running 3 days a week. I have a goal of running a half marathon next year. That's a lofty goal, but the way I'm going to achieve it is to run a little bit more every time I run, to go a little bit faster, to go a little bit further every time I go, and to continue going. That's the thing for me, is the consistency, is to keep it up. Like, it will be a massive win if I run again next week after having not run this week, and get back in that habit. Starbucks has made me a morning person, so daylight savings time has been complicated because I was running at 6 a.m. when the sun was coming up, but now the sun's coming up at 7 a.m. because I get creeped out in the dark. But 7 a.m. is when we're getting my daughter to school and I'm getting to work, so I can't run then. So I'm figuring out when I can run, which is a challenge. So that's like my next 1%, is like, when am I going to schedule this in?
I've done Couch to 5K before. It's an awesome program. So you mentioned the book Atomic Habits. Do you have any other book suggestions that have been especially helpful?
Anything by Brene Brown. I may or may not have Dare Greatly tattooed on my arm. Especially like Dare to Lead has been really influential recently as I've been stepping into a more of a corporate environment from, you know, slinging lattes at Starbucks. And let's see, what else have I been reading? I'm reading Raising White Kids right now. Let me see who it's by. Raising White Kids by Jennifer Harvey. It is all about how to raise racially conscious white children, which has been really good because I want to be intentional in how I raise my daughter and how I have conversations about race. And, you know, I have the privilege where I don't have to have conversations that other people have to have. So I'm going to choose to have those conversations anyway. Even though it's awkward and hard for me, I'm going to move past that because I want her to grow up and to help make the world a better place. What else have I read recently? I read Ready Player One, which is amazing, amazing fiction. I actually had a dream the other night that I was in Ready Player One, which was a little creepy, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I can confirm all Brene Brown is all of it. And it's all very heavily research based, which I just find fascinating. And I just think Mason, do you listen to her podcast?
I do some. I'm not caught up on it. She has two now. She has Dare to Lead and her other one.
The other one is she's done like recent interviews with some like politicians and public figures and things that I've just found really interesting. Yeah, she does a really good interview with Joe Biden in maybe a couple months ago about just leadership and not just about politics, but about what it looks like to lead the country that we're currently in. So anyhow, I love her. Can confirm she is awesome.
Do you have any tips for finding communities in Colombia?
Get involved.
That's it.
Like find out where you can get involved. If you want to make connections in the LGBT community, get involved with the Center Project. And, you know, if you want to find your people, go out and find your people. Like I know we're stuck at home right now, but there's virtual events, there's opportunities. You know, you're talking about roller skating, check out the roller derby team. Even if you don't play, like that's a really cool place to play, to go and watch and then go to the after party once it's up again. Like that's a really good chance to meet people who are just flippin' amazing. And, you know that it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time. You're going to meet some cool people. You're going to meet some not cool people, but you'll end up with people who have your back no matter what, and who bring your family food when you're in the hospital, and who come clean your house when you can't do it. And it's amazing when you have that group of people behind you.
We have one last question. So you've been talking about finding ways to be neurodivergent in a neurotypical world, but how can the rest of the world put in the work to embrace you instead of expecting you to change?
I think just knowing that my brain functions differently and that I need a standing desk, and not making a big deal about me needing a standing desk, or I'm dancing around all the time. Like when I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, so like I talk out loud to myself and dance around when I'm really trying to focus, because that's what helps me focus. So like not calling attention to it and embracing that about me and being like, oh, that's just Mason. They're just thinking, they're deep in thought. It's all good. And creating accessible spaces like we talked about earlier. I forget who's going to architecture school for that. But, you know, for me, the two most important things are to have a standing desk and a gender neutral bathroom. If I have those two things, I'm set. you know, but those are both very important to me. And I think creating a culture where accommodation is the norm and not the outlier. Because let's be real, like COVID has taught us that we can accommodate a lot that we hadn't thought of before. You know, we can accommodate parents and have them work from home when their kid is sick. We can accommodate, you know, people with differing abilities a lot easier than we think we can. Sometimes it's something as simple as saying, yeah, you can work 38 hours a week instead of 40 right now because you're going through a rough time. Especially if someone's hourly, that makes that a little easier. You know, we can do things that enhance the workforce and that make us better at our jobs. Because I bring a different perspective being neurodivergent, and I look at things differently. I look at problems differently, which means I solve them creatively. And I look at things from a different angle than other people seem to. And that makes your team stronger, ultimately, to have those different viewpoints coming in and saying, well, have you thought about it this way? And then you going, oh my goodness. Like, I have a story in high school. I had a friend ask me for help on math homework, and I explained to her how I did it. And she was like, that's not at all how the teacher taught us. And I'm like, no, but it works. This is what makes sense to my brain. And she was like, I'm going to go ask another friend for help. And I was like, okay, I'm not offended.
I can relate so hard to that, of just like, I was definitely the child who the teacher said, here's how you do things. And I did them the total opposite way, but I still got to the conclusion, but then you get dinged for not doing it the way and following directions. So I'm thankful we're moving towards like a world that is available to folks who just need to do things a little bit differently and get to the same conclusion. So I love hearing that. Mason, I'm so glad that you're able to join us today. Whenever the world is a normal, whatever normal means, but whenever we're back to being able to meet in person, I'd love to have you come to one of our live events in person and either speak again or just be a part of our Creative Mornings community to join us for a future event. We'd love to have you here regularly. So thanks for being here and being so vulnerable. Really want to hang out with you at some point in time. Just feel like there's a lot to talk about. So thanks again for being here. For everyone else, thanks for being here as well. We are looking into doing a Midwest combined event for the month of April to join several other chapters in the Midwest region to do like a big event with hundreds of people on Zoom. So it should be pretty interesting. I am meeting with the team on Monday to decide what that's going to look like, but just keep an eye out for that. But that will be the same third Friday of the month, but would be with multiple chapters all over the country, particularly in our Midwest region. So I thought that would be really cool to be a part of when they asked. So anyhow, keep a lookout for any future announcements, but anyhow, have a great weekend. Thanks for being here early to join us, and we will see you again soon. Thanks, everyone.